Let me ask you something honestly, man. When was the last time self-pleasure truly felt the way it did in your 20 seconds? Think back to that time for a moment. Erections came naturally, almost without effort. Sensitivity felt sharp and alive. And the climax wasn't just physical, it left you feeling drained in the best way, satisfied, even quietly smiling to yourself afterward. But as the years pass, something begins to shift. For many men, erections don't feel as firm. Sensation becomes less intense. The release feels weaker, less fulfilling. And somewhere in the back of your mind, without saying it out loud, a question starts forming. Is this just what happens with age? Now, here is the truth you need to understand. It is not just about age, it is about fuel. Your body works like an engine, and the quality of what you put into it directly affects how it performs. That includes how your body responds to pleasure, to stimulation, and to intimacy. In this video, I am going to walk you through one powerful food you can use before self-pleasure that can make the experience feel years younger. And beyond that, I will guide you through several other surprising foods that improve blood flow, enhance sensitivity, and build stamina. By the end of this, you will have a complete roadmap for restoring vitality. Stay with me until the end, because the final food I will mention is the one most men completely ignore. Yet it has the potential to dramatically improve both erection quality and the intensity of climax. But before we get into that list, we need to understand something important. Why does food even matter this much in the first place? Most men assume that weaker erections and reduced sensation are simply part of getting older, but that belief is not entirely accurate. Erections are not random. They are the result of precise mechanical and chemical processes, all of which depend heavily on circulation. Think of it like a hydraulic system. Blood needs to flow quickly into the penis, fill the erectile tissue, and remain there under pressure. For this to happen efficiently, your arteries must be clear and healthy. Your blood vessels must be flexible enough to expand, and your body must produce enough nitric oxide, a natural chemical that signals those vessels to open up. When all of these systems are working properly, erections feel firm, responsive, and effortless. Sensitivity is strong, and climax feels powerful and complete. But when circulation begins to decline, everything changes. Less blood enters the tissue. Sensation becomes dull. The climax feels weaker, almost mechanical, as if your body is simply going through a routine instead of experiencing real pleasure. And here's the key point you need to take seriously. This is not just about aging. It is about what you are consistently feeding your body. The right foods actively support nitric oxide production, help maintain testosterone levels, and keep your nerve signals sharp and responsive. On the other hand, the wrong foods, especially those high in sugar, alcohol, and processed fats, begin to clog your arteries, weaken nerve communication, and leave your entire system feeling slow and unresponsive. This is exactly why you will see some men in their 50s or even 60s with more vitality than men half their age. Their fuel is simply better. Their system is cleaner. And that difference shows up where it matters most. Now let me introduce myself so you understand where this information is coming from. My name is Dr. Jocelyn. I am a board-certified urologist, and for the past 5 years, I have worked closely with men navigating these exact changes. These are men who often feel uncomfortable talking about what they are experiencing. Men who quietly believe that their best years are behind them. But I have seen something very different in my practice. I have watched men completely transform their vitality by making small, consistent changes to their daily habits. And one of the fastest, most natural tools we have is nutrition. So, what I want to do now is guide you through some of the most powerful foods that can help self-pleasure and intimacy feel closer to what you experienced in your 20 seconds. Before we begin, take a moment to support the channel. Press the like button so more men can discover this information, and leave a comment telling me where you are watching from. It is always encouraging to see men from different parts of the world coming together with the same goal to take control of their health again. Now, let us begin with the first food on the list. Food number 1 is beets, one of the most underrated performance foods you can add to your routine. The reason beets are so powerful comes down to their high concentration of natural nitrates. Inside your body, these nitrates are converted into nitric oxide, the same chemical messenger that tells your blood vessels to relax and open up. When nitric oxide levels increase, your arteries expand more easily, allowing a stronger surge of blood into the erectile tissue. The result is firmer erections, fuller expansion, and noticeably improved sensitivity. And this is not just a biological change, it affects how the experience feels. Instead of dull or muted sensations, self-pleasure begins to feel more alive, more responsive, and more satisfying. From a practical standpoint, adding beets into your routine is simple. You can drink a glass of beetroot juice in the morning. You can add roasted beets to a salad. You can even mix beet powder into a smoothie. The specific form is not as important as the consistency. Many men begin to notice improvements within a few weeks. Morning erections become stronger, arousal happens more quickly, and sensations that once felt diminished begin to return. When you look at it this way, beets are not just a vegetable. They function as a kind of natural support system for your masculinity, helping your body perform the way it was designed to. Food number 2 is dark chocolate. And this one often surprises people because it feels more like a treat than a tool. But it is important to understand that not all chocolate is the same. I am referring to real dark chocolate with at least 70% cocoa, not the sugar-heavy candy bars most people are used to. Cocoa is rich in flavonoids, which are powerful antioxidants that help relax blood vessels, improve circulation, and reduce inflammation throughout the body. But there is another layer to this that many people overlook. Cocoa also stimulates dopamine, the brain's primary pleasure chemical. This is the same neurotransmitter involved when you feel excitement, connection, or deep satisfaction. When dopamine levels are supported, arousal signals become stronger and more consistent. That translates into a more engaging and enjoyable experience. Instead of pleasure building and then fading quickly, it develops more fully and lasts longer. Practically speaking, this does not require large amounts. Just 1 or 2 small pieces of high-quality dark chocolate each week can begin to influence how your body responds. Over time, this can shift the way climax feels, making it more intense and more satisfying. It becomes less about indulgence and more about supporting your body's natural chemistry in a smart and controlled way. Food number 3 focuses on something even more fundamental: testosterone. This hormone plays a central role in male vitality, influencing not just erections, but energy levels, motivation, and overall drive. One of the most effective natural ways to support testosterone production is through adequate zinc intake. And when it comes to zinc-rich foods, oysters are often the first that come to mind. There is a reason they have carried a reputation as an aphrodisiac for generations. Zinc directly contributes to healthy testosterone levels. When those levels drop, the effects are noticeable. Energy declines, interest fades, and even when stimulation occurs, the response feels weaker and less engaging. But when testosterone is supported properly, everything begins to shift. Desire returns. Erections become stronger. And climax regains that sense of impact that makes the experience feel complete. If oysters are not something you enjoy, there are plenty of alternatives. Pumpkin seeds, beef, chickpeas, and various beans all provide significant amounts of zinc. The key factor, once again, is consistency. Many men who feel that self-pleasure has become flat are actually dealing with a simple nutritional deficiency that can be corrected over time. When that deficiency is addressed, the change can feel like a missing spark has finally been restored. Food number 4 is watermelon, and this is one of the most underestimated foods when it comes to circulation and performance. On the surface, watermelon seems simple. It is sweet, hydrating, and often seen as just a summer fruit. But inside the body, it plays a much more interesting role. Watermelon contains a compound called citrulline, an amino acid that your body converts into arginine and then into nitric oxide. And as we have already discussed, nitric oxide is one of the key chemicals responsible for relaxing blood vessels and improving blood flow. When nitric oxide levels increase, circulation becomes more efficient, especially in areas that depend heavily on blood flow for function and sensitivity. This means the penis can receive and maintain stronger blood supply during arousal, leading to firmer erections and more stable performance. What many men notice when this system improves is not just stronger rigidity, but better control and consistency. The experience feels smoother, less interrupted, and more natural. From a practical standpoint, watermelon is one of the easiest additions you can make. Fresh slices, blended smoothies, or even fresh juice can all deliver the same benefit. There is no complicated preparation required. Some men even report feeling a subtle difference in circulation within a short period of consistent intake, especially when combined with hydration and overall healthier eating patterns. While it is not a quick fix or an instant solution, watermelon supports the body's natural pathways in a very gentle and steady way. It works quietly in the background, improving the system rather than forcing it. Food number 5 is walnuts. And this is where we move from circulation into something equally important but often ignored: nerve function. Many people focus only on blood flow when talking about sexual performance, but nerves are just as critical. Your nerves are responsible for transmitting signals between your brain and your body. If those signals are weak, delayed, or damaged, then even good circulation will not fully restore sensation or pleasure. Walnuts are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which are essential for maintaining healthy nerve structure and function. These fats help keep nerve membranes flexible and efficient, allowing signals to travel more effectively. When nerve communication improves, sensation becomes sharper, the body responds more quickly, and the overall experience feels more connected and complete. For many men, this is the missing piece. They may still have some level of erection, but the sensitivity feels reduced. The pleasure feels distant or muted. Supporting nerve health helps restore that lost connection. It brings back the clarity of sensation that makes intimacy and self-pleasure feel more engaging again. Practically speaking, walnuts are easy to include in your daily routine. A small handful each day is often enough to make a difference over time. Some men prefer alternating walnuts with other omega-3 sources like salmon or sardines, which can provide similar benefits. Even plant-based options like flax seeds can contribute. The key is not intensity, but consistency. Over time, these nutrients build up and begin to repair and support the nervous system in a very real way. As nerve function improves, men often describe a return of something they thought was permanently gone. That sense of feeling again rather than just going through the motions. This is not only physical, but also psychological, because sensation and confidence are deeply linked in male sexual health. Food number 6 is pomegranate. And if there is one food that deserves more attention in this entire discussion, it is this one. Pomegranate has been associated with fertility and vitality for centuries across different cultures, and modern research helps explain why. It is extremely rich in antioxidants, particularly polyphenols, which help protect blood vessels from damage and reduce the buildup of harmful plaque in the arteries. When blood vessels are healthier, circulation improves across the entire body, including the pelvic region. At the same time, pomegranate has been linked to supporting healthy testosterone levels, which further enhances libido, energy, and sexual responsiveness. This combination of improved blood flow and hormonal support makes it a very complete food for male vitality. What makes pomegranate especially interesting is how it affects overall quality of experience. It is not just about achieving an erection. It is about how the entire process feels from start to finish. When circulation is stronger and hormones are balanced, climax becomes more intense, more controlled, and more satisfying. Many men describe it as feeling more complete rather than rushed or weak. In practical terms, pomegranate can be consumed as fresh seeds, juice, or added to meals like salads. A single glass of pure pomegranate juice or a handful of seeds regularly can contribute to long-term improvements in vascular health. Like the other foods, its effects are not about sudden change, but gradual restoration of the body's natural capacity. When you step back and look at all of this together, a clear pattern starts to emerge. Each of these foods targets a different system in the body. Watermelon supports nitric oxide and circulation. Walnuts repair and strengthen nerve function. Pomegranate protects blood vessels and supports hormonal balance. When combined with foods like beets, dark chocolate, and zinc-rich sources, they create a full internal environment that supports healthy sexual function from multiple angles. This is the real takeaway. Performance is not dependent on one magic solution. It is the result of how well your entire system is functioning together. Blood flow, hormones, and nerve signaling all need to work in harmony. And the most natural way to support that system is through consistent nutrition. As a urologist, I want you to understand something very clearly. What many men assume as permanent decline is often just the result of long-term neglect of basic biological needs. When you correct those needs, the body responds in ways that are often faster and more noticeable than expected. I have seen men who believed they were past their prime rediscover a level of vitality they thought was gone forever, simply by changing what they eat every day. So before moving forward, take a moment to reflect on this. You do not need extreme measures or complicated treatments to begin improving your situation. You need consistency, awareness, and a willingness to support your body instead of working against it. Food number 6 is pomegranate, and this is where everything starts to come together in a very powerful way. Pomegranate is often overlooked, yet it has been valued for centuries as a symbol of fertility, vitality, and renewal. What modern science now confirms is that this reputation is not accidental. It is rooted in the fruit's extremely high concentration of antioxidants, especially polyphenols, which play a key role in protecting the cardiovascular system. When your blood vessels are protected and healthy, circulation naturally improves throughout the body, including the pelvic region. This matters because erections are fundamentally a vascular process. The better your blood vessels function, the stronger and more reliable blood flow becomes when arousal begins. At the same time, studies suggest that pomegranate may also support healthy testosterone levels, which further contributes to libido, energy, and overall sexual responsiveness. But what makes pomegranate truly unique is not just one benefit, but the combination of multiple effects working together. It supports circulation, protects the arteries, and may assist hormonal balance. When these systems improve at the same time, the result is not just a stronger erection, but a more complete experience overall. The entire process feels more controlled, more stable, and more satisfying from beginning to end. Many men describe this improvement not as a sudden change, but as a return of something familiar. The experience feels less mechanical and more natural again. Instead of a rushed or incomplete climax, there is a greater sense of fullness and release. This is why pomegranate stands out as one of the most powerful yet underappreciated foods for male vitality. Practically speaking, it is easy to include in your routine. You can drink a small glass of pure pomegranate juice, eat the seeds fresh, or add them to salads and meals. The key is consistency rather than quantity. Over time, these compounds begin to support vascular health in a gradual but noticeable way. Now that we have covered the major foods that directly support blood flow, hormones, and nerve function, it is important to step back and look at the bigger picture. Because understanding the system as a whole is what allows real, lasting change to happen. Everything we have discussed so far is connected. Beets and watermelon primarily improve nitric oxide production, which directly enhances circulation and blood flow. Dark chocolate supports dopamine activity, which influences pleasure and emotional response. Zinc-rich foods like oysters and pumpkin seeds help maintain testosterone levels, which are essential for desire and performance. Walnuts strengthen nerve function, improving sensitivity and communication between brain and body. And pomegranate protects the cardiovascular system while also supporting hormonal balance. When you combine all of these effects, you are essentially addressing every major system involved in sexual health. Circulation becomes more efficient, hormones become more balanced, nerve signaling becomes sharper, and the brain's reward system responds more effectively. This is why the results are not isolated or limited to one area. Instead, they influence the entire experience from start to finish. From a medical standpoint, this is important to understand. Many men believe that sexual decline is inevitable with age, but in reality, a large part of what they experience is related to long-term lifestyle and nutritional patterns. Poor diet, stress, lack of sleep, and inactivity gradually affect the same systems we are discussing here. Over time, this leads to reduced circulation, lower testosterone, and weakened nerve response. The encouraging part is that these systems are not permanently damaged in most cases. They are responsive, they can improve when given the right support. I have seen this repeatedly in clinical practice. Men who assumed that nothing could change often respond quite well once they begin to consistently improve their nutrition and lifestyle. Now, before we continue further, I want to emphasize something important. This is not about chasing unrealistic expectations or trying to turn back time overnight. It is about restoring function to a healthier baseline. It is about helping your body perform the way it is naturally designed to perform when it is properly supported. When men begin to make even small adjustments, such as improving their diet or adding specific nutrients regularly, the changes can be surprisingly noticeable. Energy improves first, then circulation, then sensitivity. And over time, overall sexual satisfaction begins to feel more complete again. This brings us to an important realization. Sexual health is not isolated from the rest of your body. It is a reflection of your overall health. Your heart, your hormones, your nervous system, and even your emotional state all contribute to the final experience. That is why a holistic approach, especially one focused on nutrition, can be so effective. As we move forward, I want you to keep this idea in mind. Every choice you make with food is either supporting or limiting these systems. There is no neutral ground. Your body is constantly responding to what you give it, whether positively or negatively. And over time, those small daily decisions accumulate into either decline or recovery. So far, we have explored foods that support circulation, hormone balance, and nerve health. In the next part, we will begin to tie everything together more clearly and look at how these foods can be used strategically in daily life to restore energy, sensitivity, and performance in a more practical way. At this stage, it is important to bring everything into a clearer and more practical perspective, because knowing the foods alone is not enough unless you understand how they work together in real life. Each of the foods we have discussed so far is not acting in isolation. They are supporting different parts of the same internal system. And when that system functions properly, the results feel natural, stable, and consistent rather than forced or temporary. When we talk about sexual performance, we are really talking about three major biological systems working in coordination. The first is circulation, which determines how effectively blood reaches the erectile tissue. The second is hormonal balance, especially testosterone, which influences desire, energy, and responsiveness. The third is nerve function, which controls sensitivity and the transmission of pleasure signals between the brain and the body. If even one of these systems is weak, the overall experience is affected. But when all three are functioning well together, everything changes noticeably. This is where the foods we have covered begin to show their real importance. Beets and watermelon primarily support circulation by increasing nitric oxide levels. This improves blood vessel flexibility and allows stronger, more consistent blood flow. Dark chocolate plays a different role by supporting dopamine activity, which enhances pleasure, perception, and emotional satisfaction. It does not just affect the body, but also how the brain interprets the experience. Then we have zinc-rich foods such as oysters, pumpkin seeds, and legumes, which directly support testosterone production. This hormone is central to male vitality. When levels are healthy, desire increases naturally, and the body responds more strongly to stimulation. Walnuts contribute by supporting nerve health through omega-3 fatty acids, helping improve the clarity and speed of nerve signals. This directly affects sensitivity, making physical sensations feel sharper and more connected. Finally, pomegranate works on multiple levels at once. It protects blood vessels, reduces oxidative stress, and supports hormonal balance. This makes it one of the more complete foods in terms of overall cardiovascular and sexual health support. When you combine all of these effects, you are not just improving one aspect of performance. You are strengthening the entire system that controls how pleasure is experienced. Now, what many men fail to realize is that improvement in this area is rarely about a single breakthrough moment. It is usually the result of gradual correction. The body responds to consistency far more than intensity. This means that small daily habits, when maintained over time, create more meaningful results than occasional extreme changes. For example, adding just one or two of these foods into your routine consistently can begin to shift how your body performs. At first, the changes may be subtle. You might notice slightly better energy in the morning, then improved circulation, then stronger responsiveness during arousal. Over time, these small improvements accumulate into a noticeable difference in overall experience and satisfaction. It is also important to understand that many of the issues men associate with aging are actually linked to long-term lifestyle patterns. Poor diet, low physical activity, chronic stress, and inadequate sleep all contribute to reduced blood flow, hormonal imbalance, and nerve sensitivity decline. These changes do not happen overnight, which is why they often feel like a natural part of aging. But in reality, they are largely influenced by environment and behavior. From a clinical perspective, this is a key point. The male body is highly responsive to positive change, even later in life. When circulation improves, when inflammation decreases, and when nutrient intake becomes more balanced, the body often responds faster than expected. This is something I have observed repeatedly in patients who believed their situation was permanent, only to see measurable improvement once they began making consistent adjustments. However, it is also important to be realistic. These foods are not magic solutions. They do not override underlying medical conditions or replace proper medical care when needed. Instead, they act as supportive tools that enhance the body's natural function. Their strength lies in long-term support, not instant transformation. What makes this approach effective is its simplicity. There is no complicated system to follow. There is no strict regimen that is difficult to maintain. It is simply about consistently choosing foods that support the body rather than work against it. Over time, these choices accumulate into meaningful biological change. As you continue to apply this information, pay attention to how your body responds. Notice changes in energy, in clarity, in responsiveness, and in overall satisfaction. These signals are often the first indicators that your internal systems are improving. The goal is not perfection, but steady progress toward better function. Now that we have connected all the biological systems and understood how they interact, the final part will focus on how to practically apply all of this into a simple daily structure. Because understanding is only the first step, but application is where real transformation happens. At this point, everything we have discussed comes down to one simple idea. Your body responds to what you consistently feed it, not just once in a while, but every single day. And when it comes to sexual health, performance, and satisfaction, that consistency becomes even more important because the systems involved circulation, hormones, and nerves are all deeply dependent on long-term nutritional support. So let's bring everything together in a practical way. If your goal is to restore the kind of responsiveness, sensitivity, and satisfaction you once felt in your 20 seconds, you do not need complicated routines or extreme interventions. You need structure, awareness, and steady nutritional choices that support your biology instead of weakening it. Start with circulation. Foods like beets and watermelon should be seen as daily support for nitric oxide production. This is the foundation. Without proper blood flow, nothing else works at full capacity. When circulation improves, everything else becomes more responsive. Erections become firmer, arousal becomes smoother, and the overall physical experience feels more natural. Next is hormonal support. Zinc-rich foods such as oysters, pumpkin seeds, beans, and lean meats help maintain testosterone levels. This hormone is not just about sexual function. It influences energy, motivation, and overall drive. When testosterone is balanced, desire returns more naturally, and the body responds with greater intensity during stimulation. Then we have nerve health, which is often ignored but extremely important. Walnuts, along with omega-3 sources like fish and seeds, help maintain the integrity of nerve pathways. This directly affects sensitivity. When nerves are functioning properly, sensation becomes sharper, more immediate, and more connected. This is what restores the feeling that many men describe as fully present rather than detached or muted. On top of that, you have foods like dark chocolate and pomegranate, which work in more subtle but powerful ways. Dark chocolate supports dopamine activity, which enhances pleasure perception and emotional satisfaction. Pomegranate strengthens blood vessels and supports overall cardiovascular health, ensuring that circulation remains efficient over time. These are the foods that refine the experience, making it not just functional, but more complete and satisfying. Now, when you combine all of this, you are not just improving one symptom. You are rebuilding the entire system. Blood flow improves, hormonal balance stabilizes, nerve sensitivity returns, and the brain's reward response becomes more active. This is why men who consistently apply these changes often report that the difference is not small. It feels like a return to a previous version of themselves. But the most important point I want you to take away from this is simplicity. You do not need to do everything perfectly. You do not need to follow an extreme diet or make drastic changes overnight. In fact, that approach usually fails. What actually works is consistency with small, realistic improvements. Even adding just one or two of these foods into your daily or weekly routine can start to shift how your body performs. At first, the changes may feel subtle, better morning energy, slightly improved responsiveness, more natural arousal. But over time, these small shifts build on each other. And that is when the real transformation happens. From a medical standpoint, I want to emphasize something clearly. Many men assume that what they are experiencing is permanent or simply an unavoidable part of aging. But in reality, a large portion of sexual decline is influenced by lifestyle factors that are adjustable. Blood flow can improve, hormones can stabilize, nerve function can recover. The body is far more adaptable than most people realize. Of course, if there are underlying medical conditions, those should always be addressed with proper professional care. But for many men, the foundation of improvement begins with the basics: nutrition, movement, sleep, and stress management. These are not complicated concepts, but they are often overlooked. So as you move forward, I want you to think in terms of rebuilding, not fixing. Your body is not broken. It is responding to what it has been given over time. And when you begin to give it better support, it responds in kind. Choose one food from this list and start there. Do not overcomplicate it. Build consistency first. Observe how your body responds over the next few weeks. Pay attention to energy, to sensitivity, to confidence, and to overall satisfaction. Those signals will tell you more than anything else. And remember this: your sexual health is not separate from your overall health. It is a reflection of it. When you take care of your body takes care of every experience you have within it. If this helped you understand your body in a clearer way, stay consistent with the information, apply it gradually, and give yourself time to notice the difference. Real change is not loud or immediate. It is steady, and it builds quietly in the background until one day you realize things feel better than they used to.